Thumbtack or Google Ads? Which one is actually going to pay off for you in 2025? So today we're going to break down what's actually working, what's costing you a bunch of money, and who should actually use each one of these platforms. So in this video, we're going to cover how Google Ads stack up against Thumbtack in terms of cost and as well as lead quality. Then we're going to go over the hidden risk that each one of these platforms have, and that's going from everything from pricing to people ghosting you as far as leads. And then finally, which one fits your business in terms of your market. So let's get right into the video. So the very first thing we're going to talk about is the cost and pricing structure of each platform. Now, when we talk about Google Ads, we have Google local service ads as well as Google pay-per-click ads. So we're going to put those into one category because it is all Google. And then we're going to talk about Thumbtack as well. So when it comes to pricing model, right, how are these things priced out? So when it comes to Google Ads, it is a pay-per-click system, or if it's local service ads, it's a pay-per-lead system, meaning it's when somebody calls you, you're actually going to pay for that lead. But pay-per-click, right, that's going to be every time somebody clicks on your ad in the search part, they're going to go to your website or landing page, and that's going to cost you money. Thumbtack is pay-per-lead credit. Okay, you actually pay up front for a certain amount of credit towards leads, and then they'll send you leads as they come, right? Second is average lead cost. So if you're in a competitive market, if you're doing local service ads, typically you're looking at $25 to $45 a lead. Sometimes it can get up to $80 to $100 depending on your market. And if you're doing pay-per-click, usually it can be anywhere between $100 and $250, just depending on what your market is and what your business is. Like if you're roofing contractors, it can be a lot more money because you're putting on $10,000 to $15,000 roofs versus, you know, somebody that's doing like tree service that may cost $500 to actually do the tree service. So different demands as far as the market. Thumbtack, though, once again, you're matched up with multiple professionals in your market, meaning your lead goes to other people. So it could be anywhere between $25 and $60. And if you're in a really competitive market, it could be $150 plus. And of course, not being guaranteed the actual lead. Next, budget control. So let's talk about cost. So you can cap your budget. And for local service ads, you can also get credits and refunds. It's possible, right? If it's not a good lead, let's say a lead comes through, it's out of market, something you don't do, typically you can get your money back. And that's pretty much an automated system now. As far as Thumbtack, you have few caps on what you have, and refunds are rare, right? So you kind of have to turn it off and on, and you're not getting any money back if the lead ghosts you, or you get, you know, they send it to somebody else and they end up closing the deal. Charge timing. So how do they charge you as far as time? So for pay-per-click, they're charging every time they click, right? So that you can't really control that. It's based on search volume. But if it's for local service ads, it's only after the person actually calls you, right? So they can click through the local service ad and never call you, and you don't pay for that. Next, as soon as it matches for Thumbtack, even if you don't get a response, you get charged. Nothing you can do about it, right? Refund risk, generally low, but with good tracking, right? So if you have good tracking, as far as local service ads, you know, obviously I'm going to get reimbursed for pay-per-click, but you could potentially get your money back, right? High risk here, you're pretty much not going to get your money back. You can get bad leads. You really can't control how they're coming in or who's searching. It just is what it is, right? Next, overall predictability. So most consistent if it's optimized. So if you're running local service ads or Google ads and you're optimizing the Google Business Profile, you're optimizing the pay-per-click ads, they're going to get better with time as long as they're optimized the right way. It's just boring work, but it can be done well. It's unpredictable as far as Thumbtack is concerned, and of course it's heavily competition based. You have a lot of people that are early in their business that don't have a brand built yet, so a lot of people are competing for these leads. So it's going to be a lot more competitive. All right. Now that's going to move us into the next section. We're going to talk about lead quality and conversion. So what the metrics we're going to look at is we're going to look at trust mechanism, okay, conversion intent, relevance control, ghost lead liability. Are they going to ghost you? And then overall ROI potential. So let's look into the comparison here. So one, trust mechanisms. If you have a Google guaranteed badge, which usually you have to run local service ads, and then of course you have Google reviews that provide validation. So a lot of people trust Google, and if you have those badges like a Google guaranteed badge, and you have a lot of really great reviews on Google, typically you're going to be a higher trust. Thumbtack, there are no reviews. So often professionals are overshadowed because accuracy is just not there as far as reviews. So you're going to be trusted more with Google than you are with Thumbtack, just the way it is. Conversion intent. So high intent search peoples means that more people are warm, okay? Low, medium, and sometimes tire kickers are coming through Thumbtack. Just people like, hey, Thumbtack had an advertisement. I've been thinking about this. Let me just get an idea of what this may cost. May not even be ready yet. Versus somebody searching, right? They really are looking for something now, or they really have some strong questions because they're taking initiative to reach out to a specific company. Relevance control. So Thumbtack, you're very limited. Okay, you're not charged instantly on match You're charged instantly on match regardless, right? So you don't really get an idea of like filtering out kind of people that you don't want to work with based on keywords or searches, things like that. Google, on the other hand, you can filter keywords, service settings, all this kind of stuff through pay-per-click, and then just put the types of services you want for local service ads, and you just have better quality there. So as far as ghost lead liability, if you have the right feedback, you can possibly get a refund, and then same thing with local service ads, same thing there. But if somebody ghosts you and never answers the phone, right? Or they call and they don't pick up, or they hang up, right? Typically you can get your money back if tracked properly. So that's why we recommend using tracking softwares like What Converts, so you can actually track your phone calls. And then last, overall return on investment. So if the setup and tracking is done correctly, obviously Google is going to give you a great return on investment. 90% of our clients, they get plenty of return on investment, 2x to 10x, because we track it correctly. We make sure we're optimizing their campaigns, and they're doing the right stuff on the back end as well. As far as Thumbtack's concerned, you have to have a closing system that's extremely fast and extremely effective and extremely optimized, meaning that a lead comes through, you're calling them instantly, and you're really good at setting up an appointment to go out and figure out what it is you're going to solve if you're like a contractor or whatever it is that you're doing with Thumbtack, right? So it just takes a lot of a very speedy lead, so to speak, to get this to work effectively. All right, so next section we're going to talk about is visibility and control. Okay, how much are you going to show up visibly and control? So the things that we're going to look at are going to be control over targeting, timing and messaging, lead exclusivity, platform influence, predictability, and then overall predictability out of everything, right? So first thing, control over targeting. So when it comes to Google Ads, you have a ton of control, right? You're top of search. You're the first thing people see. Local service ads, right? You have control over what services you offer. But pay-per-click, you control the keywords, the location, targeting, all this stuff is in your control. Thumbtack, inside the Thumbtack platform only, that's the very minimal control you have. So as long as you're in the area or in the service area, then yeah, like you can control that part, but like you can't control all these small nuances that you can with Google to start attracting the right people, change the copy, things like that, to change who you're targeting, changing keywords that are actually working, like all the stuff that you can do and get in the nitty gritty. You just can't do that with Thumbtack. All right, timing and messaging. So when it comes to this, so high keyword geography, offers, scheduling, anything that you can change and adjust in your messaging to attract the right people you can. So example, we had a contractor who's getting a lot of low-level leads when it came to Google Ads. So what we did was change the messaging because it was saying things like cheap and fast or affordable, right? But then we went and changed it to like high quality, still like a speedy service, but we changed how they thought about this roofing service, right? Less leads came in, but we had better quality leads and more people needing a roof replacement, right? Thumbtack, low, lead assigned based on homeowner input. So whatever the homeowner needs, that's the input you get, and that's what you have to deal with. So it's hard to change any control when it comes to being visible and being viewed the way you want to be viewed. Next, lead exclusivity. So you control the campaign, the timing, messaging, response speed, all that stuff you control in Google. You're very limited when it comes to Thumbtack, okay? So on Thumbtack, once again, it goes to speed to lead. As soon as you get a lead come in, man, somebody's got to be calling them, period. And somebody's going to be very good at getting them booked. End of story. But if you don't react quickly, somebody else is going to. So you can pay for that lead and still lose it. Platform influence. So generally, exclusive contact when somebody calls or messages you, and then everything is shared with Thumbtack. That's it. I mean, there's nothing else to it. So you get control over who's calling and messaging you, and that's what you want when it comes to your leads. Everything else is shared, and you may not even get the lead, and you're going to lose the money. Next, we'll talk about predictability. So Google rewards high-performing profiles and consistent leads. Thumbtack controls who sees your lead and contact routing. So, Google wants you to have and provide a great experience because they're going to show your business more to people who have a great experience, right? So if your whole online presence, digital presence is optimized, you got great websites, you've got great reviews, you're consistently updating everything, Google is going to reward your profile over everybody else's, right? Because they want people to have good experience. That means you're going to keep coming back to Google and keep searching, which means more ads are going to be performed, which means Google's going to make more money. Versus Thumbtack, they just control who sees it inside, right? It's a private party there. Last thing, overall predictability. So once again, what kind of rules everything is going to be Google here. So higher, trackable, tweakable, more transparent, easier to get ROI, easier to find the right kind of people you're looking for, so you can close more deals. It's very unpredictable when it comes to hidden costs, various leads, ghosted leads, shared leads when it comes to Thumbtack. So keep that in mind when you're deciding between Google Ads and Thumbtack, which one's going to be better for your business. Now let's get into competitiveness and ROI, your return on your investment. All right, and look at how you can still get a return on both, right? But let's look at how they weigh against each other so that you can pick the right one that's best for your business where you're at now. So the things we're going to talk about, the metrics we're going to look at is the ROI performance, lead cost trend, cost predictability, close rate dependence, and scalability. So let's look into all these sections here. So one, Google Ads, like I said, we've had clients that have done anywhere from 2x to 10x from Google Ads. So it's obviously a great place to be when it comes to a contractor or in the trades. So often 2x to 25x depending on setup, campaign optimization. Obviously, if you're running Google Ads, you don't know what you're doing, it's going to hurt. Thumbtack, so inside Thumbtack platform only, that's it. Like there's nothing to optimize. There's no the ROI is difficult to get because of all the competitiveness that you have. Next, lead cost trend. So obviously when it comes to lead cost for Thumbtack, it's about the same, to be honest with you. But once again, it's shared. Pricing's inconsistent. Thumbtack controls the pricing. The market controls the pricing for Google, right? So Thumbtack can control it here. The market controls Google. So that's the difference between the two. So once again, even in competitive markets, the pricing here is about the same as it is here, right? So you have to keep that in mind when you're looking at lead costs. Cost predictability. So trackable and refundable when it's set up correctly. And then it's pretty erratic and refunds are rare when it comes to being predictable on what your leads are going to cost. So like a lot of people can typically budget, like I'm going to spend $3,000 a month on Google Ads. And I typically know about how many leads are going to come in, how many leads you're going to close. But when it comes to Thumbtack, you can budget, say $3,000, but you may not spend that, or you may spend more than that, or you may spend less than that. So keep that in mind. Close rate dependence. So typically with Google Ads, close rate is high. Higher intent, people find your business, and if they trusted you enough to find you, they're going to call you. Versus Thumbtack, it's very low because the person's just putting in what they need. They're not looking for specific business, and the businesses are having to reach out and immediately sell themselves on that customer, right? Versus Google, where they found your business, they found you enough to trust you, right? Based on your online presence, and that's what you want. Last, scalability. So once again, because there's data and the ROI can be optimized easily, Google Ads is typically a lot easier way to scale because of the lack of, you just want to say erratic predictability when it comes to like budgeting, figuring out which leads you're going to close. Typically, Thumbtack just is not going to give you the same scalability there. All right. Last thing, risk and reliability. So what we're going to talk about as far as features are concerned, we're going to talk about pause control, refunds, account suspension, fraud and scam, serviceability, right? Because this is important and people don't talk about this enough. And so we want to make sure we mention it. So Pause control. Full ad pause functionality via the dashboard, right? You can immediately go in and pause your ads. It doesn't matter if you're a marketing agency doing it for you or you're the business owner. It's easy to go in, push one button, your ads are done, and you can stop running ads. So that is simple, right? Often, even let's say when it comes to, you don't really get a notification as far as pausing your ad showing up in Thumbtack, right? So leads can keep coming and you keep having to pay for them if let's say you didn't get you didn't get it turned off. So it's just, there's very little notification because they want you to keep paying for it, right? Next, refunds. So refunds for invalid leads. Yes, you're eligible for wrong number, spam, low intent trips, right? When it comes to local service ads in Google pay-per-click, or you can make the adjustments on the ad stuff there. Rare refunds, strict no refund policy when it comes to Thumbtack. They're basically like, you know the risk, that's it. Account suspension. So when it comes to account suspension, so these both can come sudden, honestly, and there's limited transparency when it comes to Thumbtack. Now, a lot of people will say the same thing about Google. Google, you just have to go deeper, right? And then you have multiple ways you can appeal to get your ad account back, right? And you can also open a new ad account if you want to, but suspensions are limited here, right? You don't get a lot of notification, and there's just not a great process to get your account back here. And if you lose there's multiple ways to get leads on Google, from pay-per-click to local service ads to putting the time and effort into local SEO, that if you do lose that, you have multiple options, right? Fraud and scam alerts. So typically low on the fraud and scam risk. People still get through, but at the end of the day, you have a ton of fake leads coming into the Thumbtack, and you end up having to pay for them, and you don't get that refund back. Service reliability, once again, plenty of help with Google, ton of complaints, and very limited when it comes to Thumbtack. And it's just because Google's a larger business, right? They have more options, they have more support documents, and more people use them over Thumbtack than anybody else. So which platform should you use for your business? Let's look. So if you are wanting to run Google ads or local service ads, here's the companies this works better for. So one, if you have a quality website, one that is optimized for search engine optimization, one that's got clarity, right? Not just a crappy website, because a lot of times you're going to run ads to the site, or people are going to research, and that's how they've got to convert, right? So you need a quality website in place. Two, you got strong reviews, okay, at least 10, but depending on what kind of market that you're doing, what kind of service you're doing, you want to be hitting 50 to 100 plus. You have control over your budget. So let's say, you're wanting to spend $1,500, $3,000. Typically, you're not going to go over that budget with Google, right? They're going to cap it off when it comes to that there. And you have time and the budget, and you're willing to optimize and test, because if you're running Google ads, this thing can really be humming along in 6 to 12 months time if you continuously test, optimize, and really dial it in. So that way you're going to continue to scale and grow, because once it's dialed in, you just put more money into the machine and it keeps spitting out great leads, and you keep closing more jobs. Thumbtack. Is there really a place for Thumbtack? A lot of people in the contracting space online and stuff are like, the Thumbtack runaway, it's crap. But there is a place for it. There really is. One, if you want to supplement leads, right? Meaning like you need immediate lead volume. So a lot of people that are newer in business typically will go this route, because they're like, I just need leads in the door so I can start getting jobs, so I can start getting reviews, so I can have to save the money to get the website, to have the money to budget, to get more referrals, right? All of that stacks. So a lot of times that's great for there. You're willing to accept the higher risk, right? And you have the time where you can create a system to close fast, right? So typically, if you're early in business, Thumbtack is the way to go here. And even if for those companies who are a larger company, they just want to supplement, like, hey, we need to get a few more leads in the door this month. Let's get Thumbtack. Let's get our people calling them quickly. We've got a good process in place. We want to close, right? So it's great for that as well. And of course, Google local service ads and Google pay-per-click ads are really great for those who are building a brand in the community and want to show up consistently when people are searching for their business. Now that you've seen the exact differences between Thumbtack and Google Ads, you can choose which one to use based on your numbers and where your business is at. Now, if you want to know how Google Ads stacks up against Facebook ads, check out the video on the screen and you can click on it and see how those two compare and what would be best for your business. And of course, if you want to build a predictable growth engine beyond just these two platforms, watch our full predictable growth playbook, which will be also on the screen as well. Click the video and we will see you on the other side.